Welcome, and hope lunch was really great. It looks like it was fabulous. So now that you are all carved up, we'll try to keep things exciting so you don't have that little nap time after lunch. So let's talk customer service for your 2020 season. And, already having technical difficulties. There we go. One thing I wanted to let you all know, and I thought this was kind of neat, is that right now, when you think of anything in your industry, especially with the customer experience, this is an exciting time to be in any industry, and especially in hospitality, that provides that customer experience. Because people are always looking for something new, something exciting, and they want to have just to feel significant, welcomed, and it's really special. So right now, the most exciting business opportunities when people are looking for jobs or things to do is 22% people are looking for customer service. Would you even think that? Especially in today's age, we're always thinking, oh, people are going back or they're kind of behind, behind a computer or offsite or whatever. But we still have so many people that want to be in those customer service roles. So that's great. When we think of contact marketing, we start going down or going in mobile personalization or just social business opportunities, those continue. But people are looking still to have that face-to-face contact. So I think that provides us a great opportunity for you, especially when you're dealing with your guests. In addition, there's no surprise that the customer experience is so exciting because 86% of our buyers are willing to pay more for a great experience. Think about what your campgrounds offer. Memories. Memories with generations of families. Memories of maybe somebody's first time making a s'more. Memories of maybe, the first time doing something over the campfire, if it's cooking in that cast iron pot. Memories of some great game, the first fish, the biggest fish, whatever it might be. All of these great things, those indulge in the customer experience. We're a part of memories. 73% of buyers point to the customer experience as an important factor for actually purchasing decisions. So when they think of making your reservations, thinking about coming to your campground, again, how that experience, how it plays into what they plan on doing year after year after year. And 65% of buyers find a positive experience with a brand to be more influential than any great marketing that you could do. There's a lot of an expense when you think of marketing. Think of the brochures you put together. Think of the things, the mailings, or anything that you really send out to individuals. When it is received, does it go into the circular file, or are they opening up? But if we really provide that great positive customer experience, the odds of them opening that up and the odds of them really going in and making their reservation and coming increase tremendously. So I always like to say we have to go by the numbers. The numbers will tell us everything. So will this continue in 2020? And the survey says absolutely. 86% of buyers will again pay for a better customer experience. Those of you who have had me before, I always tell you about Starbucks. And I'm always amazed when I still see people that probably there's free coffee here, they still go to Starbucks because they like the experience. It's something about that experience. They're paying a premium price for the experience. We naturally do that. If there's something you truly feel is a great customer experience, we pay that price. Think of your hairdressers, a barber, somebody that does something really personalized for you, maybe whoever fixes your car or doing some detailing. There are certain services or certain things that we go to and we say, gosh, that person really knows me. They know who I am. They know what I'm looking for. They love, and you keep going back and you'll continue to go back because it's about the experience. I know when I go back to my hairdresser and I sit there and she goes, oh, prices have gone up. And I'm like, dang, but I'm not going to leave her. She has me hook, line, and sinker. because I've been with her longer than I've been married to my husband. And I'm thinking, damn, I can't divorce her. You know? So these are those relationships, those are those experiences. By 2020, the customer experience will overtake price and product as the key brand differentiator. So you can have great brands, you can have everything else, and people will say, there it is. But if I have the Nike logo, but I don't provide a really great customer experience with that, they're going to be in influx. They're no longer going to be working together. So you have to not only have a great brand, a great vision for your company, but you also have to provide that unique experience to your guests. And that is what's really going to drive that loyalty from generation to generation, season to season. So what exactly is this customer experience that we talk about? And the customer experience is your customer's perception on how your company, your campground treats them. I once had a supervisor who told me perception is everything. I can turn around and I can look as busy as possible, but if I'm not getting anything done, you know, the perception is, well, she's really busy, but she just doesn't ever get anything. Or maybe it's, she's really busy, and boy, look at all these things that are coming done. And we can see these results and everything. It is based on your guest's perception. How well do you treat them? What is their perception? Not ours, theirs. It also is these perceptions that affects the behaviors as well as builds those memories. Those are what you're looking for, those great memories. Those memories of saying, gosh, you know, you go back in the photo album and remember when, and you can see everything that was going on, the smiles. I'm getting ready for my son's graduation this coming May. And I was going back to all the family photos each summer we've taken at the campground. And probably from ages 2 to about 12, every single family photo he is crying. He is crying. He's sitting there with his arms like this, and I don't want to take this photo, and he's crying or is pouting or something. I said, this was your life for the first 12 years, dude. I am putting this up on that graduation poster so everybody else can see this. We don't have a family photo at our campground without him not crying. In fact, our Christmas photo many years ago was the same thing. Here's all 5 kids, there's Jacob crying in the middle. And I'm like, it's going out in the mail. Those are our family memories. And that is what we keep looking at. It's like, gosh, remember when, or remember those, and that's what brings people back. Or when they get older, they're like, yeah, there we were in front of Nana and Papa's house, and yep, I was crying back then, don't know why, and now let's take another picture, and now he's the goofy one and everything. So it is really about those memories and those feelings that really start to drive loyalty. I look at it even too, because we've gone through a lot of change at where I'm at, and my in-laws are finally at that point where they no longer have their own spot. So they've kind of joined my sister-in-law, so they sold their spot, but it's right across from ours. And I look over there, and each morning I'm thinking, gosh, I can't wait to see Papa out there drinking his coffee and doing, and I look out there and I'm like, yeah, that guy's not Papa. You know, there's different, it's change. But I appreciate those memories, and now we're saying, okay, now we have to go on with the new ones. And now we have the great nieces and nephews, and we've got the next generations and everyone coming. But how do we encompass that experience as we bring our guests in? So in other words, if they like you and they continue to like you, and this is the greatest thing about all those things that you offer at your campground, they are going to continue to make those reservations. They're going to continue to come because no matter what changes and no matter what happens, they're looking for those memories, and those memories are what drive that loyalty. And again, their perception is how well you treat them as part of that customer service experience. 89% of us value great customer experience when we're looking at how do we want to choose that business. 89%. That's so strong to say, how much do we really want to go ahead and say, I want to continue business because of how they treat me? The odds of that is that 89%. So we talked about that premium price. And you've heard this probably from me in the past too. There's times where I go, price doesn't matter. You always have that sweet spot in there. But if you're providing everything necessary for your guests, you're providing them a great experience, they see value for that will drive loyalty. And so these were some interesting numbers, is saying what will people pay a premium price for and how they do it. Like coffee. People will pay a 16% higher increase to have a premium price in coffee. Starbucks has really nailed that. Karuba Coffee does that too, in a different sense, or Caribou. All depends on what you're looking for, but people will pay a premium price. Hotel stays. Think of places where you've gone for specific vacations and ones that you go back. Why do you go back to those? Is it because it's the cheapest? Or is it because of the service? Or is it because of how you were treated there? Odds are it's because of how you were treated. You will continue to go back. We talk about our annual physicals. I don't know about a lot of people. I mean, there's certain things in medical I want to cheapen, but there's certain things you're willing to pay a premium price for. Certain things we will pay a premium price. A sports ticket. If it's a game that you absolutely love, a player, something that we have been really waiting to go to, trying to get into one of those darn Packer games because it's a special moment or whatever, we'll pay that price. A dinner, airline tickets. These I always kind of question a little bit. My cable subscription? Yeah, maybe. Cell phone plan, hey, as long as I'm getting all my 4 free lines for $40, I'm okay with that. Car insurance, here's the funny thing. Once we've had a situation with insurance, and if they haven't really covered, the next time we're looking for insurance, we'll be willing to pay the premium price, right? That's typically what happens. And I love the winter coat. Of course we're gonna pay money if it makes us look 10 pounds thinner. I will pay that premium price. The 2 top reasons why businesses fail at customer service, and these are the critical things that we see time and time and time again, is number 1, hiring bad. And when I say hiring bad, this is where sometimes we get so desperate for a body, we're just getting that body in to cover a role, to cover a job, and it's not the right person, it's not the right fit. They don't fit your business, they don't fit in with the culture, they don't see your purpose, they're not involved, they're not ingrained, they're not passionate. All they're there is just there. And those people can drive away such great customers and guests. Hiring wrong is the worst thing, and I would say, my gosh, go shorthanded before hiring a really bad employee that's going to cause bad reviews or bad information or having people just get really upset. Hire right. Make sure you've got that right person that is really going to believe in your business, believe in what they do. The other thing that we see is bad training. And bad training can happen in a lot of different ways. Sometimes we give people the manual and we say, here you go, read the manual, you should know what to do. Or follow me around and they don't get to practice anything. Find out how a person learns. Ask them, how do you learn? How do you like to learn something new? Do you like to read? Do you like to do? Do you want to shadow? Do you want to watch me and then you do this and get feedback? How do you learn? That makes a big difference, and so how they're actually going to start to apply what they've learned into the jobs and what they're going to be doing. Because if they learn it wrong, if they're doing it wrong, and all of a sudden you have a bad experience, there goes that customer loyalty. There goes that bad customer experience. And you're now spending more time trying to regroup, get everyone back in, and really deal with other situations versus, hey, wasn't that a great experience? So bad hiring and bad training. Some other important things when we talk about customer service, and you guys all know this, gotta have some thick skin, right? Nobody likes change. So all of a sudden you decide to enhance a new area in your campground. And the people that have been there for years, they're like, that's not the way it's supposed to be. That has always been the picnic area. Right? Do you have people like that? And then you can't change anything. Or, we just can't please everybody. They didn't like a new change. They didn't like maybe a rule. Maybe they didn't like a new policy. But maybe that policy has a good reason or something that we can't no longer do. There's something, and how do we explain that to them? How do we provide our guests the whys behind those changes? And it's really impossible to please 100% of the people 100% of the time. We're not going to do it. So focus on who you can and focus on those. And those that we're not going to please, thank you very much for your feedback. Yeah, we made some updates. Wish I could have had you enjoy the new update. Have a great day. Right? Pretty much. The other thing is to lead, especially with customer service, especially with all of your employees. Take some time to really teach them what it is about your body language. So much of us now, we spend a lot of time just sitting, and our bodies, especially if you've been on your phones. I was sitting there on my computer during the break, and I'm like, oh my God, I need to stretch. I need to just stand up. And your body posture, and even how we stand, I have one son that is constantly like this, and I'm like, gosh, you're 6'3", and you look like you're 5'11". Stand up straight, do something. But really talk about what it is to have some good, positive body structure and language. Their facial expressions, their eye rolls, those things. People sometimes don't realize they're doing those things until all of a sudden someone points it out. One of my favorite training things to do is I would actually have some of my employees, we'd come in and just kind of role play, but I don't like it role play. I would just say, let's just talk something through. And I'd be videotaping them, like a tough situation, or how would you respond to this? Or let's see how you would answer the phone. And they would be, and it's so easy now because everyone's got phones. You can kind of just sneak it up there and kind of videotape them, and then have them watch themselves. And say, when you're watching yourself, what do you see? Do you see a really happy person? Do you see somebody who is looking to help and give a great customer experience? Or do you see someone who is just kind of going through the motions? Do you look like you're ready to help? Do you look like you're engaged? Do you look like you really are trying to service that customer? I don't know about anyone else. This is even kind of freaking me out with the video, but it's like nobody likes to be videotaped, but it is a part of how can we see, how's our language? How's our body language? Are we really giving eye contact? Are we doing what we need to do to really exemplify what else good service is? The other thing is tone. Teach people and have them work on tone. There are some individuals, and you'll probably know, they'll say, even when I know they're not really angry, they have a sharp tone to them. And then it's like, okay, but if you're in a customer service area, how does that come across? We always say how you say it matters. How things are said, where we put the inflection on, how we're actually communicating. Our body language and our tone is really going to make a difference in that experience. So catching individuals and saying, hey, I just heard that. Say that again. Now try it this way. Or let me say to you what I just heard, and what would you interpret that to be? And now let me say it the same thing, but this way. How would you interpret that to be? Give them some options. Sometimes we just are not aware of some of these things until it's pointed out. And it's okay to do that. I'm giving you permission. Those are hard conversations, but they're necessary conversations. The other thing that I also often see, especially if you have a really busy weekend, so I'm thinking like, your Memorial weekends. It might be opening weekend, 4th of July, Labor Day. There's a lot of activity going on. There's a lot of things happening. And let's say something's not going right. And all of a sudden you have an employee going, oh God, this is just a day. You know, all these things, they're just like, oh, how do I do this? You know, and their hands are all over and everything else. Those are the things you want to really talk about. When we are in those moments, how do we just say, okay, let's just calm, you know, carry on. It's going to be okay, so that we're not making our guests feel as an inconvenience. Sometimes, again, people don't realize how their bodies are really communicating before they're even saying a word. Okay. We always talk about that personal touch. What can we do to really make it personable? People like 3 things. They really want to feel welcomed, genuinely welcomed. They want to feel significant. I want to know that I matter. And they want to feel engaged. Engage and have a conversation, at least acknowledge me. What we definitely know people don't like is they don't like it when they get entangled in a process or in a system. They don't like people who are pushy, and they definitely don't like to be ignored. So if we can really focus on making individuals, our guests, feel welcome, significant, and engaged, this is where we can really learn some of those personal touches. Always put yourself in your guest's shoes and say, gosh, if I was the guest, how would I view that interaction as far as great customer service? Have people evaluate ourselves and say, that was really a good job, or, I think we missed out on a couple opportunities there, whatever that might be. When talking with your customers, the biggest thing, and especially if you have a lot of seasonals, you know those people that come back time and time again, is really getting to, you know, for those of you who know them, it's easy to go ahead and use their names. If you have new employees, introducing that seasonal guest that's been there a long time to that new employee, it's a little kind of thing that we call the flip. So if I have Mr. Jones that's been at our campsite for 30 years, and then I've got Sarah who's starting her first season with me, I want to say, Sarah, I'm going to introduce you here to Mr. Jones. He's been with us for over 30 years. There's a lot of great stories I bet you he would love to share with you. So as you're going around doing your things, stop by and ask him one every once in a while. Or see what his wife is doing. Oh, and they love telling you stories about their grandkids. So-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. What do you think that's going to say for Mr. Jones? He's going to be, again, I know him, but I'm also making sure that Sarah is going to identify with him too. And then hopefully, if I've done a good job of training Sarah, when she's out and about and she stops at his site, she's going to say, okay, I'm ready for one of those great stories, tell me it. Now we've created another great experience for that customer, that guest. How can we pass those personal touches down? You know some of your guests, if they have birthdays, special anniversaries, those little things that are coming in, even doing something little, like putting a card together with everyone's signature and saying, just wanted to say happy birthday or happy anniversary, or here's something for you because we just know today's something special. Or maybe they've lost a loved one, and you put a little note together and you say, just want you to know we were thinking about you. Whatever that might be. Or maybe it's where they're pets. We bring over a little dog bone or something. Any of those things, those are those personal touches. Using it repeatedly or doing anything that we can do that kind of makes it really special and unique. And this is my word for this year's Waco 2020, authentic. Making it very natural and sincere and real. Nothing that is contrived, nothing that's generic, but something that we really are looking for. And I think all of us nowadays are just looking for something that's truly an authentic experience. We just want to say, again, we matter. Our guests matter. How can we really provide them with something that's unique and truly special and not just out of the box? So anything that we can do to offer those personal touches in your customer service and getting people to think of some of those ideas, that really drives, again, loyalty. So discover sometimes what your customers' needs are, your guests. And I'm sorry I keep using guests and customers intermixed, but you'll forgive me? Okay, thank you. Besides, I have chocolate for you afterwards. This is my bribe for anybody that's right over there. You can take whatever you need before you leave. But you take a look at solutions. Maybe they're trying to find some fun activity for their family. Maybe they want to go someplace, tubing, or whatever it might be. They're looking. See how we can kind of discover what it is and maybe give them some ideas. Maybe it's something you already offer. Maybe it's something new at your campground that you offer and they didn't know about those things. So taking a look at discovering some of those solutions and who might want to have that. In addition, I know a lot of you already have feedback things. What can we do that will be better? What are other things you would like? What are some great theme weekends that we used to do that maybe we don't do now that you want us to bring back? Is there something, I was trying to think, horseshoes. Horseshoes used to be popular, then it's like cornhole now, but some people like horseshoes again. Maybe there's about doing horseshoes. All these different things, but get them a part of that and say, what do you want to see? And nobody's going to turn down a good euchre tournament, right? Hopefully not. So here's another interesting thing about customer service. And a lot of us, and maybe in your campgrounds too, we look at what we call self-service. Self-service is when we're going on the website and we're starting to kind of tick off some of the things that we want. So I can go on the website and I'm saying, okay, I'm going to reserve this cabin. And, if there's anything else, maybe I can reserve a canoe and some of these other things. I'm doing it right online. And if I want to, maybe I can reserve a golf cart or I can do this. It's called self-service. I'm not calling. I'm not coming in and having to do all these other things. So self-service can help be sometimes that first choice if those are some of the things that you have. 83% of customers go to a company's website for information. So self-service, again, can be whether or not they're kind of adding on different products. But self-service is also saying how or what information can I learn about your campground. So the more information that you have out there, or the more easier it is for anybody to kind of simply click and find out, the better utility you're going to have, again, with kind of really enhancing that customer experience. Customer experience isn't just the face-to-face, but it's the entire experience that they have. The phone calls before, how they find information online, all of those things, referrals, everything. 51% of customers prefer to have self-service options available, which is kind of nice. So not everybody's going to be looking for that. Some people still like to call and just say, I want to make everything and do it right over the phone. And 56% of customers either leave or go to a competitor because they can't find the information on your website. Maybe the prices aren't right. Maybe it's outdated information. Maybe there's an old phone number that's been disconnected that is still out there. Whatever you do, make sure you go out to your website and you have everything working. That is a big thing. If people are going out and they're looking and they get stuck or they can't find the information or they can't get the help that they're looking, boom, they're off of that and they're finding someone else that they can go to. So huge thing on your self-services. So the other thing is, again, think of your first and last impressions. Sometimes I think the last impressions are even more critical than the first impressions. So our first impressions are usually when they come in for that weekend or that week, whatever they might be doing. How are we greeting them? How are we engaging? How are we making them feel welcome, significant, and engaged? All those things that they've had at the beginning, and then it's time to go. How did we ask, how did everything go? How was your stay? What was your favorite thing that you did while you were here? Tell me something new that you experienced. Whatever we're doing to kind of have those conversations with our guests. And can't wait to see you again. I love Quick Trip. Love Quick Trip. I love how they say every time I'm up there, what do they say? See you next time. See you next time. And in my case, see you in 5 minutes. It seems like I'm always at Quick Trip. But, see you next time. See you next time. And they do it in such a way, I want to say any employee does it in such a way that I actually really believe that they mean, can't wait to see you next time. And that's being authentic. It's not just the phrase, it's really, I can't wait to see you the next time. How can we be authentic and can't wait to see our guests the next time? Okay. Of course, with great customer service, and we said we can't please everybody, bless you, 100% of the time, we are going to have conflicts. And that's human nature. We're all wired a little differently. And it's interesting because 85% of our population are basically opposite temperaments. So if we have 85% of our population pretty much as opposite temperaments, as much as I love to say I can't have or wish we had world peace, we'll never have world peace. It is what it is. So it's like, how do we make sure that we have these conflict resolution? One of the things is always address problems right away. So many times we just sit there and go, oh, yeah, I'll deal with that later. When we deal with things later, what ends up happening? Becomes bigger. We forget about it. All of a sudden, it's like what we kind of allow, we start to promote. So if we don't deal with anything, especially if it's our situation, other people are watching and they might say, oh, well, that's okay to do that. And as you said, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So anytime you have those opportunities to deal with those problems, they're small problems right away before they become big problems, try to work on that. So, and we've talked about this, especially if you're using any type of social media, emails, if people are communicating, if you have chats, respond promptly, within a reasonable amount of time. 3 days later probably isn't going to be really good, especially if they're looking for information. Same day or within the hour, that's going to be more reasonable. If it's a complaint, do it right as soon as you can. Don't let those go on and on and on. And my biggest thing too is really taking a role in just, being empathetic. There's ways that we can be sympathetic, and sympathetic is when we have fallen short. When we did a mistake, we screwed up. Those are the things we have to own. And those are the things we have to say, I'm very sorry. That was my error. Let me make sure that I get this right and we'll get this taken care of for you. Empathetic is really being empathetic or showing empathy for the situation. I can see where that information was misleading. Let's take a look at this and let's, work out a solution together. So we want to make sure that in situations, especially when there's conflict, show your sympathy when we have fallen short and we own those things. But be empathetic when there's a disconnect. You've heard me say each of us is really unique. So what might be great for me as a resolution might not work for this young lady, might not work for this gentleman, might be perfect for you. So we really have to kind of figure out what is going to be a good solution for each individual. Again, that works for my role in your organization, as well as what's going to work for them as a guest. So understand that again, customer is very different and unique. And even when people do have a complaint, doesn't necessarily mean they want anything like refunded or, something back to them. Most of the time, I think we just want an acknowledgement that they've been heard. Just say, yeah, okay, I get that, we're on the same page, let's move forward. Sometimes we throw things that are saying, oh, here, just take this and it'll go away and everything else. It doesn't work that way all the time. So if you can take a look at your fine print, look at any of your policies, look at any of the information that you give out to your guests when they first come in, or as they're there, if you had any changes from one season to the next, how are those things communicated? How are those things kind of drafted out? How do we explain any of that to our guests so that they really do understand those rules, or what is the expectations? A lot of times when we don't take time to explain some of the fine things that we're assuming people are reading, well, first of all, we assume. And you can know how far that's going to go, right? So if you take the time to really go through that and have everyone on the same page, the fewer disconnects we'll have. But take a look at everything. If you've had complaints last year on a certain policies or anything, how could it possibly be communicated this year to prevent any of those issues? Implement a standardized process, which basically means, again, as you're going through, what is that standardized so we can make sure that we're being consistent in our messaging? Consistent in letting people know of any changes, of anything that they really need to be aware of, whatever that might be, so that consistency. And then, of course, giving your people the power to make those decisions when necessary. If you've done a really good job of hiring great employees, and you've done a really good job of training them, and they understand what their role is and how they fit into your campground, and they know what the vision is for what your expectations are for customer service, they will be able to do the right thing for you before it can even be escalated, which is really good. Give them that empowerment. The other thing you want to do is build a community. Build this wonderful, wonderful community with your seasonals, with your weekend guests, about everything that is great about your campground, and have it come from them. It's easy for us to post things and do all these things, but what would it be to have them go out there and go, hey, I'm standing here with Becky, and Becky and I are doing this weekend, and da-da-da, and they post it on their Facebook page, or they tweet about it, or it's on their Instagram, or they're Snapchatting that, or whatever it is that they're doing, and all of a sudden, they are starting to generate that loyalty, the experience, those referrals, and everything else. So really taking a look at how can they be a part of your business and continue to generate that great service. So we've all talked about, again, you can always invest in your social media presence and things like that. It's more about those searches and what they're looking to have and how easy it is to have out there. If you're using Facebook or YouTube and all those things, demonstrate the fun things, the great things, and getting your guests involved in those. Having them do something. Those are what people really look for. Prevent customers from being really frustrated. Here's again, we take a look at some of the processes. How can we, if we anticipate them to be frustrated in any specific areas, maybe it's when they're making a reservation. Maybe it's they're there and all of a sudden they want to check out a piece of equipment or put a reservation in for a dinner or something that is special. Are there any times where those processes don't flow well? How can we make those better? Teach your staff active listening. There are so many great active listening activities you can Google. Just ask Siri, give me some active listening activities, and you'd be surprised of how many are there. Run through active listening activities and do it on a, a monthly basis. Get people really hearing what your guests are saying. Teach them to listen. Listening is really a skill. Sometimes people think they are listening, and they're not. Teach people that if a guest comes and they're on a computer or they're on something, to put their hands down and step to the side, provide that eye contact. If they're picking up phones, putting everything down, being very focused on the conversation. All of those little things teach active listening. Doing all the other stuff, and we're talking and we're still on our little phones playing, what's the new game? I've been off those a little bit. Words with Friends or whatever, I don't know. Are we really listening, or are we trying to figure out what the spelling is and all this other stuff? Or making sure our ball doesn't fall off the cliff or something, I don't know, whatever is out there. But doing this and really hearing is not going to make it active. Teach people, if you don't know an answer, say, that's a great question, I will get back to you. Teach them that. Tell them, never ever say, I don't know, that's not my job. Trust me, everybody scrubs the toilets. We all do it. But teaching them how to respond when we have these things is a huge thing. If we don't know the answer, by all means, don't make something up. Just say, let me get back to you. I'll come, is there a number? I'll come back. I'll give you that information. And the hardest thing is never, ever, ever argue. Sometimes we get people that we have those triggers, and all of a sudden they've just said the one thing and it's been one of those days. We all have those. That's where sometimes if you're in that trigger mode and you go, let me just think about this and I'll get back to you, stepping away for 10 minutes, going for a quick walk before you respond is probably the best thing you could do. Even if it's one of those really, really busy days and you're going, I can't take that step away, take that step away. You'll be able to just put yourself back into a present mindset. The other thing is vent with caution. Look around. Who's present? If you have guests standing around and somebody's upset, let them know and say, hang on, let's take this someplace else. We have guests. Teach them to take that pause. I was walking through a business the other day, and another employee was just screaming at this other one. And I stepped in, because this is what I do in my life. And I'm like, I'm a customer, but I think you probably want to step back and do this in another place because we don't really want to see this because this is really a good business. And then I kept walking. Nobody wants to see employees vent about another guest. They don't want to see them vent about their schedules. They don't want to see them vent about having to do a job. Nobody wants that. Where do you vent? Where is it a safe spot? How do I go to Myrna and say, can we go in the back room? I just got to get this off my chest and do it. Those are the things we can teach our teams to have really good customer service. And those are the skills that go along with a lifetime. So here's the customer frustration will lead to turn. And I've said this probably throughout today, so I apologize for those if this is round 3. But 25% of 25 customers, and this is basically out of 100 if you look at that, 25 customers out of 100 will say nothing if they're upset or if there's a bad service. One of them will. They'll actually complain. What's sad is that means 25 people will just leave a business. And we never know why, because they never said anything, we never asked. But it can guarantee it's off of 3 things. We never made them feel welcomed, we didn't engage them, and they didn't feel significant. Somebody else did, and then they went someplace else. One person will complain to us and let us know what did we do wrong. So we heard that one person, now we have that one opportunity to make a difference, but we've lost 24. How do you get them back? Do you know how expensive marketing is? I know you know how expensive marketing is. So if we can really make those things on the forefront and go, gosh, customers are leaving at a larger amount and we never hear about that. In my industry, it can be up to 76%. If I went into work tomorrow and 76% of our customers were gone, I wouldn't have a job. That's where we have to really look at saying, how does it affect our customer? So the bottom line is repeating your wins. So when you have really good individuals that are doing a great job with your guests, celebrate those wins. Tell them, hey, great job. Tell us and share about those best practices. I love when people say, hey, this is what I've been doing. This has really been working. How can you do this? Share those ideas. Get people to support each other. If they do something well, give them high fives and teach them to do like, hey, give someone a high five. Great job. Here's a token. You know, who's ever at the end, you can do something special for them. But really, really, really focus on all of those wins that really exemplify what you want for customer service. I put on here, focus on fast service. And when I mean fast, it's not get them in and out right away, but focus on the necessary service that needs to get done at that time. And if it needs to take 20 minutes to help that guest, then take the 20 minutes to help that guest. But also acknowledge that if you have other guests that are waiting, that we acknowledge them and we know that they're going. If I know I have somebody that has a lot of questions and everything, I might ask that person, do you mind if I help this one person? Because I know they're just needing one thing, and we'll continue to have this conversation and I'll answer all of your questions. People will be, okay, that's no problem, and we can continue to assist. Teach people how to maneuver between those types of conversations. How can we do that in a really good way without ignoring one person for the other person? So when I say fast, it is really about kind of triage, making sure that we are helping everybody in the way that we need to help them, and acknowledging those that are probably waiting. So why do we want to improve our customer experience? If we have a really great customer experience, this improves your customer's retention 42%. That's a great number. The other thing is 33% of improved satisfaction, which means they're feeling very satisfied. They really appreciate it, and the odds of them coming back and doing another reservation or continually coming year after year and year are going to increase. And then, of course, all of you probably want to increase some of your sales. Every business has a return on your investment. Every one of you has a budget. Every one of you has an opportunity to say, we want this season to be better than the last season. So if we're really focused on excellent customer service and that customer experience, we can increase our sales naturally without even having to do any promoting necessarily by 32%. It just happens. They're having a conversation, they're standing a little while, and all next thing you know, they got an ice cream and they're going off, whatever that might be. So for the battlefields, you have to invest in the experience. So when we say you have to invest in the experience, this is where you really need to have these conversations with your team. What do we want our customer experience to be? Define that customer experience. The customer experience at each one of your campground is going to be unique to your campground. What is it going to be? What do you see? What do you envision? What do you want to hear? What do you want to have happened? But define what that experience is. Once you've defined that, again, it's really easy to continue to mentor that and work with your team so that they are constantly doing exactly what that definition of your guest experience is going to be. If you have any types of little fun awards, this is where I say, not everybody gets a ribbon, okay? Not everybody gets a ribbon. You don't get a ribbon for just showing up. You get a prize for doing what I want you to do for the customer experience. If you're that superstar, then I want to make you that superstar. I want you to stand out. I want this to be the top of the mountain. Giving everyone something just because we want to be fair just brings us down to average. And when you are looking at how do I want to really make something fun and exciting for my guests and for my team, Do something that says, here's what customer service excellence is. Great job for taking the initiative and doing this something special for Mrs. Jones at site 128. She was so happy that you picked out a bouquet of wildflowers for her and put her on her deck. How special is that? It doesn't have to cost things. It doesn't have to do anything. But it's those things that are really unique, personal, authentic, that really make those difference. Celebrate those moments with your team. Not everybody gets a blue ribbon, okay? So, any questions?